Can a Scrambler realistically replace an adventure bike? I've spent a hell of a lot of time riding both kinds of bikes. And the answer is the Scrambler can absolutely replace an adventure bike. But there are some compromises that you're going to have to make. And there's one big compromise that I don't think people are talking enough about. So if you're thinking about buying a Scrambler to replace your adventure bike for touring, here's what you need to know. All right, let's talk about wind protection. It sucks, at least stock it sucks. There's no way of getting around it. You're on a naked bike that looks really pretty. So you add screens, right? That's what I did. It made things slightly less worse than stock. Then I decided, you know what, I'm going to do the more affordable route and I'm just going to add a little wind deflector on top. That did help some in raising where the wind hit me. The downside to that was I was out on the Nullarbor with strong winds, sometimes into storms, and that meant all of the wind, all of the buffeting, all of the bugs, and all of the rain went straight into my face, constantly cleaning my visor. Whereas my mate on his 1300 GSA with his adjustable huge windscreen, he didn't have any bugs on his face because his screen completely enveloped and protected him from all of the elements. You're always trying to play catch up here. It's never quite going to be as comprehensive as an adventure bike, because even if you add a big screen to the front to protect your face and your body, you're still not going to have the protection on the side where the fairing can kind of do some wind protection as well. So you're always going to be exposed to the elements far more than you would on a typical adventure bike. And that's something you're just going to have to make peace with, no matter the mods you do to the bike. The second is luggage. This one was a really tricky one for me. You do have to think a little bit out of the box, get creative, and be very strict about what you pack. Myself and my mate who took the 1300 GSA, we both did the same trip, stayed at the same places with the same sort of kit. The difference was he had roughly double the capacity of luggage that I did, even down to the tank bag. I had an SW Motec Pro Day Pack that is standard 5 litres and it can extend out to 8 litres. He had the Pro City, which means he has 11 litres standard and it extends out to 14. So roughly double just for his tank bag alone. And it wasn't any different for the rear of the motorcycle either. My entire rear luggage setup could fit into both of his huge hard case panniers. And he still had a tail bag to include, so he had another 40 litres on me in storage at the back as well. So it really was almost double the storage. And that matters a lot on big trips with what you can take. Really having to ask yourself the question, okay, do I need a 2-man tent? Okay, I'm gonna take the 1-man tent. Do I need 3 changes of clothes or can I do it with 2? Those are the conversations you're going to have. And if you can travel light and you can be disciplined, it's going to be something you can live with. If you like to take yourself, your kid, the wife, and the kitchen sink, it's going to be a struggle. So there's all these little things that really come into play that you might not worry about with an adventure bike. I've never once really cared about the aesthetics of the soft bags I'm putting on my adventure bike. I sure as hell was with this Scrambler though, so it was an interesting layer to add into it. Luckily, SW Motec had my back. It's just one of those things that popped up that I wasn't expecting. Fuel range was a big deal as well, particularly because we chose to travel in the middle of a massive fuel crisis.
We're already seeing the fuel crisis hit a bit. It says no jerry cans at this petrol station, only petrol tanks. So getting a bit serious already.
It really made things quite dicey for us. And this was another great juxtaposition between myself on the Urban GS R9T with a 17 litre tank and my mate on his 1300 GSA, which has a bazillion litre tank. He was able to do 500-600 kilometers between stops. Myself, if I pushed it to the absolute maximum, I was lucky to get 350 kilometers. It was enough, but if you don't like the stress of riding for a good amount of time, seeing that fuel light blipping at you along the way, and you don't have a backup plan like a fuel bladder, it's going to be a lot of stress. So you're always going to be working with the handicap of fuel on a Scrambler because design and aesthetics is put ahead of practicality and the size of the tank. as it should be, because you're buying the Scrambler for the looks. Just be aware that you're likely going to have to rely on a fuel bladder for a lot of your big trips. Off-road capability is probably something you're going to have to compromise as well. Not always, some Scramblers are immensely capable off-road, but in general, they do have less off-road capability than your typical adventure bike. Wheel size isn't so much the issue. The real complication is suspension travel. This doesn't have a whole lot. It's acceptable for easy dirt roads and maybe a little bit more, but once you start speeding up and the terrain gets rough, it's completely out of its depth. Whereas a GS or a GSA or insert any other big adventure bike, they are going to handle rougher conditions much, much better. So if you're the kind of guy that really likes to push it hard off-road, you either have to invest in some serious suspension for your Scrambler or maybe move on to an adventure bike, because it is one of those major limitations. For me, it wasn't a problem. I never intended to do anything harder than dirt roads, and this did those perfectly. But if you want to go deeper into the dirt, it's going to be an issue. So either take it slow or invest in some really good suspension. Let's talk about comfort. That's the big one. It's probably the biggest sacrifice you're going to make, and it does roll in from the wind protection, because as you're getting buffeted around, that does reduce your comfort. And that was my experience. I was definitely way more fatigued than my mate on his big GSA with his nice big windscreen. But on top of that, he had a nice wide comfy seat. I upgraded my seat to a much comfier seat than stock, and it still sucked. I added an air hawk to that aftermarket seat to improve it. It helped, but it still sucked. Comfort is one of those big things. The actual rider triangle was pretty good on this bike, I've got to say. I was quite comfortable. It's one of the good things about a Scrambler. The base package is surprisingly good, because you basically sat like you're on an adventure bike. Handlebars are tall, you've got your feet pretty much underneath you in an upright position with that perfect rider triangle. But the seat's gonna suck, the wind protection's gonna suck, and sometimes, like on this bike, the suspension just isn't going to be quite as refined as what you would expect to experience on a big flagship adventure bike. This is pretty decent, but it wasn't perfect. One of the reasons I bought this bike is because ever since this thing came out all those years ago, just the looks of it were breathtaking to me personally. Leaning heavily on the nostalgia of the R80 GS, I love the look of this bike. And one of the things a big trip will do on a bike is just wear it down. You're going to get rock chips, bugs hitting the bike at Mach 1, maybe your panniers will rub on the frame, or maybe your exhaust guard will rub up on your exhaust and scratch the crap out of it, like what happened with my exhaust. There's just going to be a lot of wear and tear on the bike, and that was one of the things that was really hard to live with when I pulled back into the garage and cleaned up the old girl. Was I noticed all the new little scratches, the new little dings, the little imperfections that I'd added. Now looking back at them, I can be a little philosophical and look at them as war wounds proudly worn by the bike. It does irk me that it's no longer looking showroom perfect. There are imperfections on the bike now. Should I have just taken any old adventure bike that I could have beaten up instead? And it's something that I don't see people talking about enough is, yes, you can take a Scrambler adventure touring like I did, but are you willing to ruin those beautiful looks to do so? That's the real question. I know this video has so far been, well, this sucked and this sucked and this was really crap, but there were a few things that really stood out to me that people don't talk enough about, that were really quite fantastic little gems that I discovered about taking a Scrambler on a big adventure tour like I did. One of the really fantastic things about this bike is the seat height. At 850 millimeters and it's quite narrow, you can get your feet flat on the ground with a bend in your knee, at least if you're average height human being. And this is an absolute win. Being able to just maneuver around in tight spaces because of the smaller size of the bike, whether it was parking, fitting our bikes under a veranda, which is something we did at a Cooper Pedy hotel to keep out of the weather. There were just all these little instances where having a compact bike that was light and maneuverable, at least light when you compare it to a big adventure bike, just came into place. And I think handling as well, whenever we did come across corners, which wasn't all that often because of how straight the highways were, but when we do hit the corners, boy is this bike a lot of fun in a way that a big adventure bike sometimes cannot recreate. Who should buy one? Well, I think it's definitely for the person that wants something that is classically beautiful, that tugs at the heartstrings, because I've talked about this before. You can make purchases with the head, where it's a rational decision with practicality, utilitarian design and focus, or you can just go with the heart and go with your emotions and something that speaks to you. And if you're wanting to go with the heart, there's nothing more appealing than a beautiful bike like a Scrambler. So that's definitely something to think about if you're willing to live with the compromises. But at the heart of a Scrambler is an adventure bike just wanting to break out. So if you're willing to think outside of the box, willing to make a few compromises, and you've got a can-do attitude, or you just want something a little spicy, a little different, and absolutely stunning, then a Scrambler is a great choice for an adventure bike. What's the most unconventional bike you've decided to go on an adventure trip with? Chuck your thoughts or your experiences down below. Don't forget to stay shiny side up, and I'll see you in the next one.